Hi friends, we're back in the studio with Les Petesen and we're talking about in-person sales and projection sales. Last couple times we covered where it began and where it is today and all that good stuff, and so we're going to continue along those lines. If you haven't watched the first two, I would encourage you to go back onto our blog and watch the first two. It's some great information from Les. But my next question for you today, Les, is how do you, in today, a lot of photographers put their images online for people to choose from, or they just deliver a little USB with all the images on it. How do you convince clients today to come into the studio to view their images in person?
Well, I knew this question was coming and I prepared for it.
Okay.
I have a system I follow in my business for everything. And it's 3 words. And those 3 words are volunteer, explain, and benefits. Those 3 are the things. When I'm talking to somebody about coming into the studio to see their images projected, yes, I meet with negativity from time to time because that's not the way the other people are doing it. So if they ask me, will you send me on my computer these photographs? If they ask, I lose. Because they are putting me on the defense. Why are you not letting us do it? I mean, they are mad. They don't have any information as to why I'm doing that. It's just that other people do and you don't. So what you have to do, you have to volunteer before they ask. Volunteer the information of how you do it.
When do you do that? Is it at the session, consultation?
I try to get it started when they call for information about the studio. Whether they booked or not yet, I still explain to them the reason or that they have to come in and see these images in the studio. Place your order in the studio. I volunteer that information. When you volunteer information, that puts you on the offense. When you've done that, the next step is explain why you do what you do. None of these other people who are putting online can do these things. I explain to them, I do that. So when you come in, I will have every size that we make for you to see. I have all the different finishes for you to see. I can show you what it looks like retouched or unretouched. I can show you everything. I can explain all the prices to you and why we charge what we charge. And so what I've done is explain why I do it. But that's only the second step. That's not the most important one. The most important one is how does it benefit them. People make decisions based on benefit. How do I benefit from using you over the other people?
Right.
You know, I've called 10 studios. They all said the same thing. I call you and you tell me you do something different, but you told me why you do it different, and now you will explain to me why it benefits me or how it benefits me. And I tell them my goal is to give you an education about what can and can't be done with your photographs and give you advice and guidance. I can't do that if you're not here. I can't explain how we can retouch blemishes or anything like that. I can only do it eye to eye and in person. And so if you're here, when you make a decision, it's based on knowledge. Otherwise, if you get those files, however you get them, I don't care how you get them, what do you know about having prints made? What do you know how do you know where to buy albums? Where do you buy frames? Where do you have all this artwork done, retouching and Photoshop and all these things? How does that get done? We will explain it to you. So the benefit to you is you have the knowledge to make wise decisions. And that can apply to everything, even price.
Right.
I have a thought, if somebody asks me how much I charge, I lose.
That's true.
You lose because they just automatically turn the tables, put you on defense. I don't want to be on defense. So when they call and say, how much do you charge? It's a simple thing. I don't tell them. I will in a minute, but not now. I begin to ask questions. Who are you having photographed? Are you wanting indoors, outdoors? Will there be more than one person? You need to have this information anyway, so start asking questions. Tell them how you work. Volunteer that information to them. How you photograph, what time of day you photograph, why you do that, how it benefits them. Those 3 words keep playing over and over and over. And when it gets down to the last word, how it benefits them, they are not worried about somebody said, well, I charge $20. I charge $75 for the same picture. But if I'm explaining why I charge that, how, let's say an 8x10 for instance, mine's $75. But mine are printed by a professional lab. Most of these real cheap studios are either doing it themselves with a little cheap equipment, taking it to the drugstore or to Sam's or somewhere to have their print made by some amateur printer. My lab is best in the country. What they put on a sheet of paper is far superior to what those other ones are. I mount mine, everything I give you will be mounted on a sturdy board. They frame better and they last longer. Benefits to them. I put protective coatings on all of my work. They won't fade as fast. Anything will fade. But when they're coated, they'll last many times longer. So it's an investment, but it's an investment that lasts for a long time. It looks better, and it is better. So you give them the benefits. But those 3 things are how I handle everything. Is the volunteer, explain, and benefits.
That's great.
And you can apply that to any walk of your business.
So let's say you have someone call that just is absolutely adamant that they have to have digital images. And I know it happens occasionally, right? I mean, they're adamant about it. Mm-hmm. They want those digital images. Mm-hmm. They don't want you to print anything for them. How do you handle those people? Or do you print them for them? Or do you provide those digital images for them? I'm sorry.
In my whole career, I have sent 0 images out on the internet. In the future, I will send 0 images out on the internet. I think back to my proof days, paper proofs, how I couldn't get them back, how I couldn't get an order, how they printed their own, copied them, or whatever they did. I think that same thing happens when your files go out and get into their hands. They can do anything they want, and you can't do anything. How do you get them back? How do you force them to come place an order? I have a one-word answer when they ask if I'll do it, and it's no. And I don't dwell on it. No, I don't do it that way. I'm not going to change. And if they don't want to use me, probably they're looking for somebody cheap that will make it easy for them and not obligate them for very much. And they're just looking for the cheapest thing they can get. That's not me. I don't want to work that way.
And it's really not all about, you do make a living from it, I get that, but it's really more about providing the customer service and caring about people, right? I mean, that's really what it's all about.
One of the words I find really important is customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
That is everything. You can spend all the money you want on advertising. It's not as good as having somebody out there that are pleased with your work and your product. If they're pleased, who do they tell? All their friends. That word of mouth is the greatest thing ever. And you only get it if the people are satisfied. And I think my customers are more satisfied because they are more educated. They do make wiser decisions. And so I will never put it on the internet. I have a friend, I was debating whether to share this story with you, but a man here in Tulsa named David Kennedy. He's a retired teacher, he and his wife both, but they have a studio in their home now. And they're not high volume, but they do some business. And I talk to David from time to time, and we talk about that very thing, about putting him on the line. And last time I saw him, he said, Les, I took so much abuse from why I don't put them online that I decided to do it. Mm-hmm. And I decided on a 6-month trial. Now, I don't know how many sessions he did. He says, in 6 months, putting them on the line, I never got one single order, not one print. So you're going to keep trying? No, they're not going online anymore.
Wow.
So I'm not going to do it.
That's a great testimony right there as to the effects of it. And for those that just print the USB card, the USB or a disc or something and send them out, and they're just getting a small amount of money up front, what would you say to those people today? How would you talk to them today?
Well, I'd ask them first, how much money do you get paid? And they'll tell me. And the lowest I've ever heard for a studio that gave them or sold them the files and had a sitting fee was $20 total. That's the cheapest.
Right.
And I've had people say they get $1,000. Whatever you get, that is all you're getting. There is no chance to sell more pictures to those people. Zero. If they have the files and they're going to print their own, how are you going to get an order? How are you going to increase your income? You can't.
Right.
If you have in-person sales, projection or otherwise, at least you have them there, showing them the products, explaining how to use them, how they benefit. You have a chance. I've had hundreds upon hundreds of appointments come in to see their proof saying, well, you just want an 8 by 10 and leave with a $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, $3,000 order. I couldn't do that if I sold the files were all done. So I would ask them the first question, how much did you get?
Yeah.
And most of them in the $150 range. That's nothing. That's not even what we sell an 11 by 14 for. And so, to me, they're doing it for fun.
Yeah.
They're not doing it to make a living, to raise your family, send your kids to college, buy a home, have a car. They're not worried about that. They just want cheap.
Well, wouldn't you say, too, the second thing you would ask them is, how are you serving your client well? Right?
You bet.
Yeah, that'd be...
There is no service.
Right.
There is no service. You're saying, I am not going to serve you from this point on. You're on your own.
Right.
That's what they're saying.
Right.
And those poor customers go out there into the world and try to figure it out.
Right. I don't care about you enough to spend time with you, showing you what you can actually do.
It's a disservice. To me, it's and I know people disagree with me. I can live with that.
Yeah.
But it's a disservice.
Right.
And I think the customer deserves all we have that we can give them. All our efforts, all our knowledge.
Right, right.
So.
Right, and that, I think even as a Christian, we need to think about that as well, that bringing them back in for those sales sessions, we have an opportunity to sit across from them and actually pour into their lives, right?
You bet.
I'm sure there have been times in your studio, I know there has in ours, where they have told us things that we can't believe that we're hearing, right? And that we actually spend time counseling with them, pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know we've experienced that, and I'm sure you have as well.
Especially with high school boys.
Yeah. Some
of them, they're fatherless and nobody's guiding them, and they're just hunting out anybody that will give them attention.
They're just hungry.
And it's not my place to tell them how to run their lives and to counsel them, but I can certainly suggest a pastor or somebody they can go to and get the help that they need.
Right. Kind of going back to your setup, how do you have your room set up? And do you offer any kind of refreshments during that time? Right.
The one thing I don't want people to think of me as a car salesman.
Right.
I don't want that reputation.
Yeah.
Thank you. So our room, and I'll go two different directions here. Our room is set up more like a living room atmosphere. Very laid back, very casual. There are no counters and cash registers, anything like that. But it's just very low key. And you feel like you're in somebody's home. And that's what I want. Now, that starts long before then. This started with me when I had my first studio. It was in a shopping center location. And I could see customers drive up. And I made sure I went out to greet them. I would go to the car. I would open the door if it was a lady. I would greet them and talk with them and just have a casual conversation. I'm trying to relax them. If they're coming in to make major buying decisions, I don't want them all tense and nervous. So we go slow and we calm them down. They've been in the world and all the nonsense that goes on in the world. We got to get that out of them a little bit.
Yeah.
So I meet them there. Even when we go into our home where the sales room is, I don't go to the sales room. We stop in the first room and we'll just, if their kids are there, I'll play with the children. Drives the parents crazy. Why are you playing with them? I'm here to order pictures.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the kids more than I like you.
Yeah.
No, not really. But I love the kids, and when you play with people's children, they like you. Mm-hmm. When it's time to go in the sales room, I don't take them in there till I offer them a refreshment. We have either water or pop. That's it. Or we'll make coffee if they want it. Don't normally have it made because it goes bad, but we'll do that if that's what they want. But I want them to have something they can hold and sip on and relax.
So you treat them as if they're a guest in your home.
They are.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
Yeah.
I can't think of them as customers or clients. They're friends. They welcome me into their family to be part of their celebrations and photograph that, so I'm part of the family practically.
Right.
And that's how I want the relationship to be. But the refreshments are very, very important. When they're coming down to see their proofs and place their order, they're thinking about, what is he going to say to me? How is he going to try to get me to buy more? And they're thinking, well, if he says that, I'll come back with this. If he says that, I'll come back with that. And they build literally a defensive wall around them. And you can't knock that wall down.
Right.
But you can disassemble it. When I greet them at the car, I take a brick out of that wall. When I bring them into the house and we chat, I take a brick out of that wall. When I play with the kids, I take a brick out of the wall. When I give them refreshment, and it just goes on and on. Even when in the projection session, when we show the show that we're going to do, it rips the wall apart. It takes so much of it down. And that's what you have to do. You have to get the world out of them and the love for their family in them.
That's good.
So
That's really good. So when they come in and they're seated, after you've visited with them for a little bit, they come in and they're seated. I assume that you dim the lights, right? Or you turn them off so that they can see their images bright and clear.
Let me do this. When we go into the projection room, I'll show them. You'd like to sit here. If they have coats, we take their coats. Just try to be hospital. And I don't jump in the sales session. Sorry, I start talking again.
You talk a little bit more.
My wife gets so mad at me because I talk to everybody. It doesn't matter who or where. I talk to everybody.
Yeah.
Just as though I know them.
Yeah.
And some people it startles them. But that's the way I am. But I want to go slow. So before I turn on the projector, I explain what they're about to see. That I have all the shows, all the slides, the show's put to music. It's about children growing up if it's a children's portrait. And I want you to listen to the words. I want you to look at the pictures. Do not try to select your favorite. Don't try to memorize which one came up when.
Yeah.
Just enjoy them. Afterwards, we'll go back and one at a time we'll edit down to your favorites.
Okay.
We always have the music start first. Screen's dark, the room's dark, music starts, and then the first one comes up. One of the reasons I take so long before I start, especially in the summertime, they've been out in bright sun. Their eyes are accustomed to the brightness. I want their eyes to become accustomed to the darkness. So when that first image comes up, it explodes off of them. It's so bright. That's what I want. I want that initial impact. You make your sales on that first one. How are they going to feel about it? If you can touch them emotionally, you got a sale.
So during the actual sales part of this meeting, basically it's a meeting of some people that you enjoy being with and like. You really continue that conversation of kindness and of enjoying who they are and getting to know them. It doesn't just cut off and turn into a sales meeting.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. No.
That's great.
But we'll go through a sales program in a minute,
Okay.
or a few minutes, in detail.
Well, I'll tell you what, Les, let's go ahead and, let's stop
Let me,
here.
let me
Okay,
ask
I'm
you.
sorry.
And look, I'm reading your notes here. Who do you not recommend come, or who do you recommend come to the
Okay,
viewing?
yeah.
And then you said, who do you not recommend come?
Yeah, yeah.
And I can tell you've done projections.
Yeah, of course.
You know the latter. The first one, the most important thing, is to make sure the decision makers are there.
Right.
Not only on choosing the pose, but also making the money commitments.
Right.
When I first started, I could get a mom to come, bring me her children, I'd photograph them, I'd do a beautiful job. Dad doesn't come. She comes in, she sees the music, hears it, and all the pictures, and she's deeply moved, and she spends $1,500 or $2,000. And when she goes home, the husband says, "How much did you spend?" They were really good. "How much did you spend?" $1,500. Call them and cancel the order. And they did. They called and said, "My husband said I can't get them."
Yeah.
So I learned real fast. People, when I first got into sales, they'd say, "Don't have the man there. They ruin every sale." No, they don't. Men buy more on children's portraits than the mothers do, because they think they have the power over the purse. And if they want it, if they like it, they're getting it. It doesn't matter what it costs.
Right.
That's my child. I'm getting it. And so I want the dads there. And in today's world, I need the grandmothers there if they're the ones buying the pictures.
Right.
They have to be there, or it's going to kill your sale.
Right.
So, but the ones that we don't want there, little children. Oh my gosh. You know, if you got a 3-year-old, she brings a 3-year-old with her, that kid cannot sit in the dark for 2 hours
Right.
and behave. They can't. And they shouldn't have to.
Right.
But they're interrupting everything. Mothers can't make decisions. It breaks up the whole flow of the session.
Crazy.
Yeah. So no little children in us. If they show up, you can't kick them out.
Right.
But
right. Well, we want to thank you guys for joining us again today. And next time we will continue our talk with Les Petesen on in-person sales. And thank you, Les, for
Bet.
sharing with us today. And we'll see you guys next week.